Well, hello again. This is Brother Peter. I'm out of my comfort zone right now, trying something a little different, and this is standing instead of seating. I normally and generally am a teacher of the Word, sitting down at a desk or a table, and I'm teaching. And now, when I assume this position, I'm in a position of preaching. Yet I'm teaching, but I am a teacher-preacher or a preacher-teacher. And I am an evangelist at the Faith Baptist Church. And I am studying the Word of God, and been studying the Word of God since 1972 ardently. My desire in life is to win souls, and that's what I am. I'm a soul winner. I'm a tract passer. I pass these little tracts to people on a daily basis, as many as the Lord will allow me to cross the paths of, to pass them a tract, which asks this question: if you died right now, do you know for sure you would go to heaven? And then inside of this little tract is the simple path of saying, I realize I am a sinner. Jesus, forgive me of my sin. Come into my heart and save my soul. One of the main things I get from people today is, I can't do that. I couldn't live it. No, you can't. You can't live it until you do it. After you do it, then you can live it. By faith, you ask Jesus to save you, and when He comes in your heart, then He gives you the ability to live it. Now, and we are in chapter 21 of the book of John. And Jesus is speaking with one of His disciples, the one named Peter. And He's given Peter a 3-command commission. And the first commission He gives him is to make lambs. That is to bring into the fold new converts. And as you bring them into the fold, Jesus is going to command him some things, but He's going to do it in a subtle way. Listen to the reading. So when they had dined, Jesus said to Simon Peter. Now Jesus was a man walking on the earth like any other man, and Jesus knew that He had to have the attention of this disciple, Peter. And so they dined first. He took him to dinner. And after they had eaten, and Peter was filled, and the Lord was filled, and everybody was filled with food, and they were going to sit around and discuss a little, and to talk a little, just like gentlemen do after they eat. And He said, so when they had dined, Jesus said unto Simon Peter, Simon, son of Bar-Jonas. He recognized Peter for who he was in the flesh. He was the son of Bar-Jonas in the flesh. And He said, lovest thou me more than these? He said unto him, He said, more than these. More than what? Well, Peter, if you please, had just been called to leave his friends, to leave his fishing boats, to leave the fish, and to leave that which he loved. Peter didn't have a undesirable life. He had a desirable life. He had 2 boats. He had men working for him. He had a busy life, if you please. And his life was not, it was a hard life, but it was a good life. And Jesus is saying to him, hey, do you love me more than you love this world? Well, as we look at this, Peter said unto the Lord, right here, he saith unto him, yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. And he saith unto him, first thing is, Peter said right here, the word that he used there, apollio, the word he used there was, yeah, I'm fond of you. Yeah, as a friend, yeah, I love thee. And yeah, you're a good guy, Jesus, and yeah, you know I love you. So Jesus says to him again, knowing Peter's heart, he said, thou knowest that I love thee. And he said, feed my lambs. He gave Peter a command. Now what was he commanding him? Jesus is walking across the country and he's making believers. These believers are now lambs. They are young in the Lord. They're lambs. And he said, will you take care of these lambs? He saith unto him again a second time, Simon, son of Bar-Joas, lovest thou me? And he saith unto him, Peter said unto the Lord, yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. And he said unto him, feed my sheep. In other words, he's to take the lambs and he's to tender them until they become full sheep. And when they become sheep, he's supposed to do something else with them. And this is what the Lord's going to say to him again. Saith unto him again, yea, Lord, thou knowest I love thee. That was after the second time. And he said, feed my sheep. Now the third time he saith unto him. He said, Simon, son of Bar-Joas, lovest thou me? And Peter is getting a little dinged out here and discouraged. And he was a little bit peeved and grieved. And this is what he said. He was grieved because he said unto him the third time, lovest thou me? And he said unto the Lord, thou knowest all things. Thou knowest that I love thee. And Jesus said unto him, feed my sheep. Now Jesus gave him 3 commands. The first command was to take the lambs which are being made and make more lambs and bring more lambs in. And when they become sheep, feed them individually. And as you feed them individually, draw them together in a union and make a flock out of them. And once you make that flock, feed those sheep. Peter, do you love me enough to do that? Do you love me enough, Peter, to leave these fish? Do you love me enough, Peter, to leave these boats? Do you love me enough, Peter, to leave these friends? Do you love me enough to feed sheep? To take a flock and feed them? David was called by God to obey his father. And his father sent him out in the wilderness with a handful of sheep. And David was to take those sheep and make a flock out of them and keep them, maintain them, so when he brought them back, they came back with increase. Great increase. David perhaps went out there with 1 lamb, ewe lamb, and 1 ram lamb. 2 lambs, a male and a female. And he goes out on the mountaintop at a young boy. Let's say he's 10 years old, 12 years old. And he starts up there with that. By the time he's 15, 18, 20 years old, he has 200, 300, 400 in a flock. And now he has a flock of sheep. And what did he do? He took those lambs, those 2 little lambs, and he made them into a flock and he tended them until his time was time to be moved. And Brother Jesse had to send somebody else in there to tend that flock. Brother David had to turn that flock over to another shepherd. Yes, he did the work. He did the work. He took the lambs. He made the sheep. He got the flock together, and then somebody else took over that flock. And that's the way it happens. And Peter was designed here to make a flock. And what Jesus is saying, would you do that, Peter? Would you do that for me? Do you love me that much that you would give up? And that last statement that Peter made when he said, you know, my heart, Lord, he's saying in my heart, now I do love Jesus. I do love him. I love him as God, and I would be willing to follow him. And Jesus knows that. and says, feed